Hello, my name is Dr. Justin Dorenzo from the Dorenzo Psychological Group located in Jacksonville, Florida, and I'd like to welcome you to my Marriage Tune-Up course. My course is based on the influential leaders in couples therapy that I have gravitated toward in my work as a psychologist over the last 10 years, and that would be Doctors John and Julie Gottman, Dr. William Harley, and Dr. Harville Hendricks. And this course is greatly influenced by much of their work, so I will try to mention them as much as possible. A little introduction to myself is, my name is Dr. Justin Dorenzo. I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm a certified Supreme Court family mediator. I'm also a parenting coordinator, a custody evaluator, and a relationship expert. I'm known here in Jacksonville, Florida, on a few of the news stations as the relationship doctor. I do hope that you do enjoy this course and learn a lot about having a harmonious marriage. A great deal of my private practice is in dealing with people that have a lot of marital discord or people that are preparing to get married, and just helping couples get along better and working out some of the kinks that people bring to relationships. Marriage is a challenge. Okay, we all know if you're in a marriage or you're in a relationship, you know that it's a challenge. And couples need to ensure that they have adequate skills to make it work successfully. It takes two couples willing to give each other 100% at all times. It takes commitment, trust, and hard work. It will also take a commitment from two parties to complete this course together. Completing this course together is an act of love and should be viewed this way based on the time commitment it will take to finish it. If you are unable to get your spouse to complete the course with you, it is certainly suited to be taken by oneself as well. If you are taking it alone, use it as a tool to reflect on your marriage and to ensure that you have a healthy vision for a more fulfilling, happy marriage in the future. The course is broken down into 5 sections. The first 4 sections include information about exercises for you and your spouse to complete. The entire course takes about 4 hours to complete. It is up to you to complete the recommended exercises with your spouse. The code that you are using will allow you access to this course for about 4 weeks from the date of purchase. So we're going to begin with section 1 today and talk about the sound relationship house. And this does come from the research from doctors John and Julie Gottman. So what is a relationship house? Well, having a sound relationship house should be the goal of your marriage. A sound relationship house is not by definition a perfect house, but rather a house that is functional. It has good days, it has bad days, but overall the house functions. It is safe, and it is a place where a family or couple can thrive. Now there are 4 components of the sound relationship house that we'll talk about today. And the bottom is really the friendship. And the friendship includes, where there's a level of curiosity, where you desire to know about your spouse, and where you think your spouse is amazing. They're your best friend. There's a reason that you choose that person over anybody else. Then we move up into the positive perspective, where we have a positive view of our spouse, where we give our spouse the benefit of the doubt when they make mistakes. When they do great things, it's confirmation that they're a great person. We also talk about managing conflict, where if we manage, in a sound relationship house, it's not necessary to win every argument. It's more necessary that we leave each discussion with each person feeling well, feeling good about themselves, and that we've come to some level of compromise and are able to move forward. And then the final component of the sound relationship house would be supporting each other's hopes and dreams and having a shared understanding and meaning. Now, if you were in a Gottman session with me and we were going over the Sound Relationship House, we would really talk about it having some 7 components, but for simplicity, we're going to just focus on these 4 for this exercise. But let's imagine a house that is built upon these 4 things, these 4 items, and on the exterior of the house we have trust and commitment that are holding these things, these important components together. Friendship, component 1. So friendship is based upon how well we know our spouse. The Gottmans define the term for how well we know our partner as a love map. Each of us has a love map. Truly knowing our partner is knowing their love map. So what is friendship? I mean, it equates to understanding their likes and dislikes, knowing their history and goals, including past traumas, and being knowledgeable about how they will act in given situations. Knowing your partner's interests and enjoyment, such as their favorite types of movies, favorite foods, and their hobbies, is all part of friendship. And this is that greater curiosity that's so important in a relationship. We know that curiosity itself is very much an aphrodisiac. If we want to, maybe we're missing sex in our marriage, and if we want to work on being curious and showing that we're curious of our spouse, that's definitely a turn on to them often. So in addition to knowledge that comes with knowing someone in an intimate relationship, there are many other tools that help us gain an understanding of our partner as well, such as tools as personality tests such as the Myers-Briggs, which tells us a lot about how partners perceive and understand the world. I'm sure you've all heard about the Myers-Briggs. I use that in therapy sometimes, and then I'll use the Keirsey profile, temperament profile as well, that I find to be very effective in helping spouses understand how the other person, how they see the world as well as how their partner sees the world. So how can you build your love map? Well, understanding and knowing your partner as described in the friendship section is a big step in building your love map. You want to ask yourself, do you admire your partner and express fondness toward them? Do you turn toward your partner? So in good times and in bad times, do you turn toward your partner? Do you spend time together? Do you express an interest in your partner's perspective? Do you share values? Do you listen? Is he or she your best friend? Getting to the point where you answer yes to all of these questions is a great way to build a strong love map. Now, interesting about turning toward your partner, we know that it is so important to be there for your partner in both good and bad times. And often people neglect the good times when they move toward their partner. And we find that in the research that it's often more hurtful and more harmful in a relationship when people are not present for their spouse during achievements and during those really good times. So it's just as important to be with your spouse as in the low times as it is in the high times. A positive perspective, component 2. Just like we know that a positive attitude can improve one's reactions to life in general, research has found that those with a positive lens or perspective toward their partner created a substantial positive difference in their relationship toward the positive compared to those with a negative lens or a negative perspective. When there is a positive perspective, again, we overlook many of the mistakes. We give our partner the benefit of the doubt. And when they do good things, when we have a positive perspective, it's confirmation that they're a good person. Versus when there's that negative perspective, we never give our partner the benefit of the doubt. When they do something wrong, it's confirmation that they're a bad person. And when they start acting how we want them to be, we often judge them and say, "Oh, you're only, doing what I've wanted you to do to manipulate me to get what you want." Or because we're in therapy, or maybe because we're working on this exercise. So we need the positive perspective. We want to give our partner the benefit of the doubt. So again, a positive versus a negative lens. So with a steady positive attitude, partners typically give their partner the benefit of the doubt when their spouse or partner makes a mistake. And when their partner does something pleasing, the partner on the receiving end sees this behavior as confirmation that the partner is a great person. So this is what we want. So on the other end, again, to repeat, partners who generally experience hurt, misunderstanding, anger, disappointment, unjust accusations, frustration, and personal attacks develop a negative lens. So the negative lens, again, is not created overnight. This results in thoughts of leaving, getting even, or protecting themselves. Developing a negative lens leads to a downhill slide in a relationship. With a negative lens, one's partner acts unjustly and views this as confirmation that their partner is not trustworthy or not right for them. The third component, managing conflict. So couples that are able to understand and manage their emotions and behaviors as well as understand how their partners respond to conflict are significantly better equipped, or response to conflict are significantly better equipped to have functional relationships. This is related to what is known as emotional intelligence. So the Gottmans have found that couples that are able to manage conflict do well, whereas those that manage conflict often divorce. So the Gottmans uncovered 4 behaviors that are exhibited during conflict that either sustain conflict or lead to even greater conflict, which are labeled the 4 horsemen. So, this sounds obvious, but let's remember, if your partner is your best friend and you move towards your partner when times are rough and when times are good, and you think they're absolutely amazing, it's more difficult to have conflict. So of course, when things are bad, when you've lost sight of who your partner is, you don't think they're amazing, you're not moving toward them, of course, it's more easy to have conflict. But let's talk about the 4 horsemen. And again, we want to eliminate these 4 horsemen from all conversation and all interactions that we have. It's very important. They're very destructive in a relationship. So criticism is the first one. Most relationships have an element of criticism. But it is imperative that couples work on reducing the level of criticism that they give to their partner. Further, when a relationship becomes negative or highly conflicted, most feedback is perceived as negative. In fact, even constructive criticism is considered negative in a difficult relationship. Research shows that for every 1 criticism given, 5 positive statements are needed to counteract the negative effect of this one statement. This makes it difficult when a relationship is already negative, as it becomes extremely difficult to have positive interactions. The goal is not to be critical, which will help prevent a downward spiral. So, important conflict rules. Let's think about this. So, in terms of the antidote for how do we avoid criticism? Well, we want to ensure that you respond with 5 positive statements to counteract the 1 criticism. Stick with the old saying, you catch more bees with honey. So start gently if you have something to bring up. Don't begin a statement with you always, you never. Instead, start by using the word I statements. And then start conflict with I feel, when I feel, upset or frustrated when you leave the milk out, and I would prefer if you put the milk away after you drank from it. But the most important thing is be gentle, catch things in the positive, remind them when they've done something right and how, last week, and how you want more of that and how it makes you feel so good and heard. Defensiveness, the second of the 4 horsemen. A major offender in relationships and one of the most frequent behaviors that I observe in couples therapy when there is conflict. Defensiveness is often a reflex action to criticism or to perceived criticism. Sometimes there's no criticism but just feedback stated. However, the individual on the receiving end responds by blaming the other for doing the same thing, denies the responsibility in the matter, or whines and makes an excuse for their behavior. When the original speaker experiences the defensiveness of the receiver, they often feel invalidated and alone, and the couple becomes distant. So again, I see this all the time. One person is giving feedback to the other, and they're saying, screw you, you do the same thing, or there's a reason that I act that way. It's because of you. So the antidote for defensiveness, right? We gotta overcome defensiveness. We gotta neutralize it. So rather than seeing your partner's words as an attack, see them as strong expressions of feelings about the topic being discussed, right? Remind yourself of the positive qualities of your partner. Acknowledge that you're not perfect. Remind yourself that a relationship is about being part of a team, not two individuals working against each other. And most importantly, take some responsibility for the feedback your partner is expressing. This is the best part, okay, right here. Don't apologize for something you have not done. However, accepting even 10% of responsibility if it's due will de-escalate tension and improve communication and build trust. So if you can take some of the responsibility, take some. Say, you know what, you're right. I'm partly to blame here. That is completely de-escalating. Okay? Stonewalling, the third of the four horsemen. Stonewalling is just as it sounds. It is an avoidance or refusal to address or communicate about an issue or conflict. To the other person, stonewalling often feels as though they're talking to a brick wall. So traditionally, it's kind of the woman that's been, more vocal, and then you have the quiet, the strong and silent type man who stonewalls, refuse to talk about something. And then we have this avoidance dynamic that gets set up where you have the person chasing the stonewaller around, chasing upstairs, downstairs, in the laundry room, and then finally the stonewaller goes berserk and starts screaming and yelling at the other person following them. So we've got to eliminate stonewalling because it makes the other person crazy. Stonewalling, so who does it and what is the result? The Gottman's research found 85% of men use stonewalling as a way of dealing with conflict, yet they did not realize that it was a destructive strategy. Most people think that it's okay, right? Men often use a distancing technique to cope with high levels of emotion. So it's not necessarily okay. We know that it's okay if we do it for about 30 minutes. If we need a break from the argument to reduce tension, and let those stress hormones be reduced, then it's okay to come back and have a discussion. But we got to come back. We got to come back. If we distance, we got to say, I'm getting distance. I need a little break, but then we got to come back. So withdrawing from an argument does not solve it. And parallel living has been found to be a consequence of this behavior over the long term. So, if there's stonewalling, the stonewaller starts living a parallel life, and then the person that's trying to reach the stonewaller also starts living a parallel life because they are just sick and tired of trying to connect with that person. They get fed up with it. So results of stonewalling. The non-stonewaller, again, begins to chase the stonewaller about. Stonewaller reacts with rage, and then a regrettable incident occurs because that stonewaller goes berserk and goes after the person coming after them. Important stonewalling rules. Resist the temptation to withdraw. Stay with your partner emotionally. Look for the good in each other. Make time for positive experiences. Don't ignore your partner and give some sort of response, even if it's just a nod or a brief reply. Practice good self-care to avoid stonewalling. Get a good night's sleep, exercise frequently, and maintain a healthy diet. We often stonewall because we are anxious about conflict. Conflict causes many of us anxiety. In order to better manage the anxiety of dealing with difficult issues, it's important to practice good self-care. Avoidance is okay in a relationship as long as you are avoiding stonewalling. So as long as you come back within 30 minutes or before, as long as you come back at about the 30-minute point, if you feel yourself pulling away and addressing whatever issue you need to address. And contempt, the fourth of the four horsemen, also known as belligerence, most dangerous of the four horsemen. Okay, contempt in a relationship is predictive of divorce in 86% of cases. So contempt is almost the last step to indifference. Okay, indifference is where we absolutely quit caring. That is absolutely where people, is the precursor to divorce, where you just quit caring. So right before indifference is contempt. So still very dangerous. So if there's contempt, we need to try to eliminate it. Contempt can be described as a behavior which causes your partner to feel put down. Examples include belittling your partner, treating them with disdain, eye-rolling, sneering, insults, name-calling, mocking, and cynicism. Contempt can be as simple as having disdain or disgust with your partner and how they chew gum, eat, drive, or even snore at night. I've heard that before in therapy lots. Okay, even those dreaded CPAP machines, people having disdain for their partner and their CPAP machine. So warning signs of contempt. You no longer feel admiration for your partner. It's difficult for you to remember your partner's positive aspects. You feel that your partner has severe personality deficiencies. Important contempt rules. Focus on your partner's positive qualities. Use time out when you recognize that the situation is becoming heated. Watch your tone and facial expressions. Focus on the behavior and not the person. Gain an appreciation of where your partner is coming from. Often when we are able to put our partner's behavior in context, we have a greater appreciation of the cause of their behavior. As a result, better see their behavior is about them rather than about us. So we all, I'm sure, have heard of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and one of the habits was seek first to understand before being understood. And what I try to help people with in therapy when there's a lot of contempt is to really try to understand where the other person's coming from. We have contempt for the other person because they exhibit some specific behavior, and we often make faulty assumptions that somehow that behavior is about us. But in therapy, I have people explore and figure out why that person is exhibiting such a behavior, and most often we find that the person exhibits that behavior because of something that they do on their own, independent of the person that has the contempt. So just finding out what causes the person's behavior and realizing that it's not them. It's not me, that my partner does a certain thing that I don't like, is very neutralizing. For example, today, in fact, I was working with a couple, and one of them had a weight problem, and the thin person repeatedly has complained about the other person's weight and not exercising. And when the other person overeats or does not exercise, the thin person takes it as the other person doesn't take them seriously, they're not loved, their requests and points are not important to the person that's overweight. When in fact, the overweight person today talked about how challenging and difficult it is for them to lose weight, and how it's like a drug. Even when they see the other person, the thin person, in being very frustrated with the overweight person's diet and overeating, they still overeat because they still need to calm their nerves and carb load in order to calm their anxieties about the other person's frustration, as well as their own frustration about not being able to lose weight. So, but again, the thin person, today learned that the other person's behavior is not about them. So, contempt was certainly reduced. So, 2 tools to resolve conflict. Influence. Okay, tools to resolve conflict. Well, we've got to. It's imperative that both partners accept the influence of each other. Typically, in relationships, there is a top and a bottom. Okay, and the top has ultimate veto power. Relationships are most effective when each party has equal veto power with most issues. Now, again, in real life, it's unusual that everything is split 50-50 for couples. Often each person has more influence over separate things. Like maybe one has more influence over the money, one has more influence over discipline of the kids, one has more influence over shopping and what's fed and work and what the family does on the weekends and plans and vacations and things like that. So it's important that both people feel that they both have for general influence in the relationship. So, and Dr. John Gottman found that in the happiest of marriages, men accepted the influence of their partners. Examples of influence include a belief that you can learn from your partner, not rejecting their opinions, and believing that they can also come up with good solutions. So a lot of it's about just being heard too, and being valued in terms of what you have to say. Another how to resolve conflict, we got to make effective repairs. Partners that make effective repairs have functional and successful relationships. This means that functional parties resolve problems or arguments during the argument. So even waiting till bedtime to finish an argument is too late. People that make it are ones that fix it before the argument's over. When couples resolve each argument, problems are resolved at that time and do not become additive and resurface during a future argument. Okay, having a partner who has the ability to say they are sorry is crucial. Being able to say you are wrong takes courage and trust and is helpful in reducing conflict and having a relationship. Every relationship needs a hero. It needs two heroes, two people to say they're sorry. Okay? Creating an atmosphere where one can break the negativity is helpful. One can use humor, ask their partner for a hug, or make light of the argument without invalidating the other. Again, make-up sex helps. Okay, it makes peace and reconnects the partners. It's okay. It's healthy right after a big fight to have sex. It reconnects people. Having a sense that your partner will accept your efforts to improve the situation and vice versa is paramount. Okay? It's two people knowing that the other person truly has their back. Compromise. Making compromises is key in building trust and commitment and ensuring safety. Having a sense that your partner will give way on things if there is a disagreement ensures safety. Black and white thinking such as I'm right, so you must be wrong is dangerous. Couples must be able to give and take in an argument and to share power. Okay, fight with the end in mind, and this is another one of Stephen Covey's habits for highly effective people, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. What should the end in mind consist of? The end in mind should focus on resolving the issue and simultaneously ensuring your partner feels good during and after the conflict. Both partners must control their stubbornness. Couples should practice calming techniques, meaning they should pay attention to their heart rates. When we have a heart rate above 90 to 95 beats per minute, we're emotionally flooded and have difficulty being rational, and arguments are in the state of fight, flight, or freeze. So again, when we get in an argument, it's okay to step away for 30 minutes, okay, or 20 minutes. We should not come back actually before 30 minutes. We need a little break if we get put in a state of fight or flight. If we come back any sooner, we'll start off where we left, and that is usually with conflict. So what do you do if you're flooding? Well, watch for signs of flooding. So emotionally flooding, like you can't stop being in fight, flight, or freeze. Okay? So watch for signs of flooding, like feeling overwhelmed, not being able to stay calm during arguments, wanting distance, and small issues becoming big ones. Pause or take a time out for 20 to 30 minutes from an argument. Once your emotions are under control, resume discussion in order to resolve the conflict. And just as we should not spank our children when we are angry or emotional, we should not argue or discuss important matters with our partner when we are angry, or we will inevitably say or do something that we regret. So remember, if you need a break from an argument, take a break, but resolve the issue immediately following your break. Okay, remember, 30-minute break. And safe talking techniques. So great techniques from Markman and Stanley in Fighting for Your Marriage. Okay, and these techniques enable each partner to speak without interruption. So use a jointly valued item such as a talking tool. For example, a wedding ring or photo. You're passing it back and forth. So each person takes turns holding the item, and then the person who holds it holds the floor. So nobody interrupts. Right? The person listening then repeats back what they have heard and checks if that's correct. And then the other person takes hold of the talking item and speaks while their partner summarizes. So understanding conflict. The goal is to gain a greater understanding of where your partner is coming from rather than win the argument. When I work with couples, I want them both to feel like they have been heard, understood, and are accepted for their position. Often achieving the above de-escalates the situation, and the couple finds resolution. Couples that get along and don't have conflict easily agree to disagree. Couples who have high conflict are threatened by disagreement. So 5 steps to resolve conflict. So feelings. Each person needs to share how they felt about the situation. So here's another way to manage conflict if you don't want to be passing an item back and forth. You state these things together. Each person shares about how they feel about a situation. Do not say why you felt away. Avoid commenting on your partner's feelings. Stay in your lane. Realities. Describe your reality. Take turns. Summarize and validate at least part of your partner's reality too. Remember that their reality should not be a threat to you. During conflict, we have selective attention, and therefore partners remember the same situation differently. Triggers. Share what experiences or memories you have had that might have escalated the interaction, and the stories why these are triggers for each of you, right? Own your own trigger. Don't blame, criticize, or minimize your partner's triggers. Like, not that it reminds you of an earlier fight you had. Maybe it reminds you of how your parents fought, how something happened to you when you were a teenager, maybe something happened in a previous marriage. I mean, explain, like, what triggers you with your current partner. Responsibility. Take responsibility. Acknowledge your own role in contributing to the fight or incident. This is the opposite of defensiveness. When we take a little responsibility, it's de-escalating for our partner. Constructive plans. Plan together one way that each of you can make it better next time. Now that you both have a better appreciation of where your partner's coming from, you have been heard, and you each have taken some of the responsibility for the regrettable incident. You are better able to find resolution with your partner. So, all right. Shared meaning of the relationship, component 4. We're moving quickly. I know this is a lot of information. So you're welcome to watch this over and over again until you've acquired all of the information. So supporting each other's hopes and dreams and having a shared understanding of the meaning brings us to the last section of the Sound Relationship House. We are able to achieve friendship, see our partner through a positive lens, and resolve conflict. And then we're ready for the last component. This component involves having shared rituals, goals, roles, and symbols with each other. So what is shared meaning of the relationship? Well, it's defined by rituals, right? Rituals. The finding shared rituals is important. Rituals bring us together. They give us security, provide us with an activity that we look forward to. So we ask ourselves, what type of rituals do you consider in creating with your partner, or would you consider in creating with your partner? And what are the rituals that you engage in within your family? Do you eat dinner together? Are there special celebrations that you all value? Do you share values regarding television, education, and time spent together? So rituals can be almost anything. I mean, it's often how do we celebrate the holidays? How do we celebrate the holidays? What do we do at the end of the day together? What TV programs do we like? What do we do on Saturday morning, Sunday morning? But what do we do together that define us and differentiates us from everybody else? And then goals, having goals. So successful couples have shared goals and visions for their lives and their relationship. An effective relationship is one that supports each other, achieving their own personal goals as well as the goals of their partner. So you got to ask yourself, do you honor each other's goals? Do you have similar financial goals? Do you have compatible life dreams? Do you each value the accomplishments of the other? Do your life paths fit well together? So roles. In an effective and functional relationship, each person has an agreed upon role or roles that are supported by the other. In order to live out each of your dreams as well as to live out the mission of the relationship. So in an effective and functional relationship, each person has an agreed upon role or roles that are supported by the other. Ask yourself, do you support each other in your role in the family? Does one of you have does one of you have an expectation that you hold a particular role that is not shared by the other? And how does this impact your relationship? More about shared meaning. So symbols. In a functional relationship, individuals understand that their partner's meaning behind symbols and factors relating to daily living. It is not necessary to have the same understanding of meaning with symbols, but it is paramount that we appreciate what the following mean to our partner. It is also important not just to appreciate, but to honor our partner's meaning and reality of these symbols. So some key symbols include the home, money. What do these things mean to us? The meaning of the family, the role of sex, fun and play, trust, personal freedom, autonomy, sharing power, and adventure. And often people's core issues are a struggle with meaning and what these things mean to them. Because there's often there's a deeper level, like maybe it's about trust, personal freedom, autonomy, where somebody they never were allowed to do never had freedom in their life, or maybe they've always feared that somehow they would be subjugated as they were in the past. So when they're doubted or controlled, it brings back a lot of those issues, and they feel like they have to run and escape. So it's important that we know what our partner's core issues are and what they are trying to achieve through the relationship that helps them overcome some of these core issues. So not only helps them overcome the core issues, but often these core issues again become a source of conflict. So what I want you to do, I want you to spend 30 minutes as a couple and complete the following exercises. I want you to share something with your partner that they don't know about you. Each of you share something that you admire or find amazing about the other. I want you to commit to each other that for today you will practice moving toward each other and be open to the other's expression of affection and desire to communicate. Explore together how the balance of power may be improved in the relationship. Do you both share power related to spending, children, future plans, and domestic responsibilities? Use one of the techniques above to discuss an issue that has created conflict. Together, discuss a personal goal that you would like the other to help you accomplish. Create a new ritual that will define you as a couple, and discuss personal values that each have that you would like to follow as a couple. The next section will be understanding your partner's emotional needs. This wraps up section 1.